Welcome to Showdown. I'm Mark Kasen, and it is Tuesday, and that's July 1st. And welcome back. And of course, it is incredible what's happening in the country. We say this all the time. We all know it. We walk around all day long knowing that things are happening in the United States that are far different than anything that has ever gone on in this country before. And in fact, it is so disturbing that there are many people who have just decided it's probably a good time to just not talk about it at all. I talk to people all the time who say, I've had enough. I don't want to hear anymore. I want to get involved in something else. I want to think about a different problem in my life. Worrying about the United States to many people does not seem to be productive at all. But I have to say this. If we don't stand up to protect the country against an authoritarian dictatorship, then it is guaranteed that the efforts that they're making to hurt the rest of the country, that is us, will be successful. Now, if we fight back, of course it's possible that we won't be successful. But if you don't fight back, it's guaranteed that you won't be successful. I know it seems almost beyond belief that it's this extreme, that we're at this point. But we clearly are, and by talking about it and looking at the problems and thinking about the things that are really caving in around us, well, it just may help us to work against authoritarianism and to produce the kind of democracy that we've always wanted to have. It's true that before Donald Trump came into existence in our political scene, we had many problems. And this was not the democracy that we had always hoped for. But we were at least feeling like we were headed in that direction. Now it's very clear that we're headed in an opposite direction. And the only thing that you can do is stand up and talk about what's happening, identify what is being done, and hope that we get to the point where we can all really work together in order to crush this mess. So, starting one more day in front of us, it's just like people say, one foot in front of the other foot, and you just keep walking, and then you'll get there. So, a number of things going on. And I'm going to start with the least of it all. I mentioned maybe a week ago that Donald Trump came up with this idea that he was going to create his own telephone company. And he did. He's got Trump phones. You can buy a Trump phone. You can buy T-Mobile. You can buy AT&T. You can buy Spectrum. You can do all these different companies. Or you can go to Trump Mobile. Now, we know that Trump immediately went after Apple phones at the very beginning, and he threw tariffs on Apple in order to make it very difficult for them to sell their phones. And now he's throwing a huge tantrum over AT&T, making ridiculous claims about the company and what they're doing. I mean, they're running a phone company, that's all. And, you can cut it 1,000 ways, but Donald Trump has got a personal interest in going after other phone companies, and so that's the latest move, is this big fight against AT&T, which is a fight against nothing. I mean, AT&T is running a phone company, that's all. I mean, they produce the services, they do whatever they can, the best they can. If they're better than somebody else, they'll get the business. Maybe it'll be T-Mobile, maybe it'll be Spectrum, maybe it'll be one of these other smaller companies, or maybe it'll be Trump Phone Company. But I would bet one thing for sure. If any phone company in this universe of companies is going to fail, it'll be the Trump company failing probably first. I mean, they can't do anything right. And what they do to their companies is what they're doing to the country. And we'll talk a lot about that today. For example, one of the things that's really, it's got to be unacceptable to the American people. And I know that immigration is a very, very popular issue right now. There's no question trying to keep people from out of our borders is really high on the lists of so many people. And I've argued the other way, that we actually should encourage people to come here, that the people who come don't have to be squeaky clean. They've never been. It's not what we've even said that we really wanted from the beginning. In fact, if you go to the Statue of Liberty, it says, send us your people yearning to breathe free, the teeming refuse from your shores. You know, we don't say the best. We say, send us the trash. Send us your people. Send us everybody. Send them here. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with people yearning to breathe free and hoping to have a better life and to be successful where maybe they weren't able to be in another country. You send those people here, and we'll help them to make it in the United States. Now, we've done that for 250 years. Right from the beginning, that was how we ran this place. We brought people from Europe. We brought people from China. We had many people that came here that were despised when they first came to the United States. They were accused of many different things that were sometimes not true, sometimes they were. Sometimes there were criminals, most of the time they weren't. And in the end, the people who came here became Americans. And they are Americans. And many of them, if you listen to them, they sound like every other American. There might be some people who have different looks, different ethnic backgrounds. And you know what? We've handled all of that. We've dealt with it. We've worked through it in a very positive way. And in truth, if we were to be really positive about doing this in 2025, we could not only help people that are coming into our country, but we could help people in our country. And I've said this so many times, but I'm going to say it again. It's well worth explaining. We could send people down to the border, young people, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that graduate from high school, send them to the border, have them meet up with people who come in and sign papers and get vetted and get into the country in order to avoid sometimes death in their own countries, certainly sometimes very damaging conditions. And they come here hoping to find safety. And we could have them come in and we could have these young people, show them how to fill out the forms, show them how to sign up for school, show them how to sign up their families, show them how to do everything that immigrant families are going to need in order to become successful in the United States. Welcome them here with the assistance of these young people who could give 1 year in between college, go down, work with other people, gain a lot of maturity and a lot of good feeling from doing good things to the benefit of our country. And honestly, it would be so productive We did it with the Peace Corps, where we sent people to other countries. We've done it with AmeriCorps, where we send people out around the United States to help people in different locations here where they were poor, they needed food, they were unable to find housing. They connected with groups like Habitat for Humanity, which of course was Jimmy Carter's work in his life. I mean, we've done lots of good things to help people and could continue to do those kinds of things that help not only the people that are getting the assistance, but the people who are giving the assistance. It would make sense. It would be very good for our country. Anybody who says that it's not, just go listen on the internet. You can go pull up on YouTube Ronald Reagan's final speech where he talked about immigration, and a man that I surely did not support for one day in his lifetime as president. However, he made a speech that was phenomenal and that fits so perfectly with our times. And if you listen to it, I think you'll understand not only where the United States has always been on immigration, but where we should be, what we need in 2025 to make this country a better place. What we don't need is a moat surrounding an island with a bunch of alligators and pythons where Donald Trump wants to send hundreds, maybe thousands of immigrants. Send them down there and show them how dangerous life can be in the United States of America. What could happen to you if you come here? You could be surrounded by alligators and pythons. You could be in extreme danger from even mosquito-borne illnesses. I mean, these are not good places to live. These are dangerous places. Yes, they say that some of these tents have some air conditioning inside, but believe me, the surroundings are potentially devastating. And is this really the way we want to run the United States? You know, we look at what Germany did 80 years ago, and we've always been horrified with how the Germans treated the Jews, some Catholics, some gypsies, other groups. Really not black people, because there just weren't a lot of black people involved in all of that in Europe. But to people who had been marginalized, who had been treated very poorly, and who had been hated by vast numbers of groups throughout Europe, and it was easy to make them the mark and to put them in camps, to murder them, and to burn up their ashes. That's what we did, or that's what the Germans did. Here's what we're doing. This is our Germany in 2025, where we send human beings, 70% of whom have done absolutely nothing wrong in the United States. Nothing at all. They've worked on farms. They've worked in factories. They've worked as domestic assistants in homes. And they've committed no crimes at all. They've got children. Their children are in school. They're just regular people. And by the statistics, these people don't commit crimes anywhere close to the numbers that Americans do. Just doesn't happen. They basically go to work and try to be successful. And for this, we want to take these people and put them on an island surrounded by alligators and pythons, immersed in an environment of mosquitoes and illness and all kinds of danger, and say, you know, if you come to the United States, this is what we're going to do to you. And the truth is, it's the worst image that this country could possibly have. It's not helping us in any way, and it's hurting us dramatically. And I do understand that there are many people who support Donald Trump who say, if they didn't break the law and come here, they wouldn't have this problem. But that's just not how we've run this place. And I understand there are people who are saying, look, it's not how we've done it, but it's how we should. And it's what we're going to do. But I think what they're going to find is there's going to be a price to pay for all of this that is going to be just enormous. And I hope that we don't have to pay the full price, because if we do, it is going to be unbelievably costly for the entire country, for our entire legacy, for the history of what we have done up until now. I know that we all sit around and talk about how throughout history that justice, the curve has bent in favor of social justice, in favor of decency, in favor of good relationships. Yes, a lot of us have felt that it has. But right now we're up against it. And the truth is that it could go either way. It could go the way Germany went, or it can go the way it seemed to be going in the United States before 2025. I know there was this Project 2025 that everybody read, or I should say, honestly, didn't read, but talked about. I certainly didn't read all 987 pages. I read a lot of it. I read important chapters in it, a lot more than the vast majority of people have ever read. And I can tell you that the dangers associated with this thing are exactly what we're living through today. And all the things that Donald Trump said were not there, that he didn't know about, that he would never have anything to do with, we're implementing them day by day in a very substantial way. This is not even, it's not even just a little bit. It's not like it's sort of some thought about it or something. No, it's all of it, every bit of it. It's being implemented today in our country. And that brings us to the big bill. And I'm not even going to say what he says because it's just pathetic. And there's so much of what he says that I can't repeat because it's just not true. There's nothing good about this bill. There's nothing that looks good. There's nothing pretty about it. It's dangerous. It's hurting our country potentially in so many ways. And when I say it's hurting us, this thing hasn't even passed yet. But you know, we're on the path to cutting Medicaid in gigantic ways. And that's the big part of this bill, is to cut Medicaid in order to allow Donald Trump to do some things that many people don't really want, but probably aren't all that upset about. I'm sure there are people walking around who hear that wealthy individuals are going to get tax cuts and maintain previous tax cuts and think, well, okay, they're making billions of dollars. Why not allow them to get some cuts so they make even more and have the opportunity to invest those funds in the United States? And if that's all we were talking about, it would be fine. But it's clearly not where we are. Instead, what we've got is a system that is diminishing the value of middle-class workers, lower-class workers, people who are struggling in life to feed their families, struggling to get the health care that they need, to stay alive so that they can work. I mean, it's a struggle. That's not a struggle for everybody, but it's a struggle for enough. And we could say, or any one of us can say, look, if it's not affecting us, then we just really shouldn't worry about it. It's sort of like America First. You know, if it's not affecting America directly, let's not worry about it. If people in Africa are dying of HIV, let them die. That's Africa. That isn't America. And it's understandable that some people could say it. It's sad that they would, but it's understandable that they could. But what they're, of course, not thinking about is that if we're saving lives in Africa, then we're also saving lives in America, because research is being done all over the world in order to try to bring solutions to problems that exist everywhere back to where we live. Now, I know it's hard for everybody to understand that that's how some of this works, but it is. I mean, the research has to be done somewhere. It has to be paid for. The United States doesn't want to pay for it anymore. We've cut those research funds dramatically at the places where the greatest research has been done all over the world, which is in the United States universities. So naturally, you've got all these people around the world wanting to go to school anywhere else. Why waste your time here? You don't need to be dragged up by somebody that mistakes you for being a migrant and ends up putting you in a detention facility on an island surrounded by alligators and pythons. I mean, that's no joke. Nobody wants to even take a chance that that's where you're going. And if you're not listening to the stories of the people who are being grabbed up by the ICE agents who don't have any insignias, don't have any badges, they have masks so people can't even see who they are individually. I mean, this is a dangerous, horrific situation. In the past, I mean, under most administrations, we would have considered this to be torturous, anti-constitutional, anti-American. We would have never accepted any of this. Today, we act like this is the way we're supposed to run this country. Again, I guess if you conclude that you're running this place in order to protect us against people who, as Donald says, will slit your throat when you're on the way to buy a loaf of bread, I mean, if you're thinking about that, you might be feeling better today. The truth is, nobody's getting their throat slit on the way to buy a loaf of bread. It wasn't happening under Joe Biden, and it wouldn't happen now. It wouldn't happen under Donald Trump, and it won't happen whether we put people on these islands surrounded by alligators and pythons or we don't. Donald's lying about the danger. Our crime rate is at a 50-year low. You look at a poll from the people at Gallup, you would find that many people in the United States, I mean, a large margin, like 75%, think that our crime rate's at the highest that it's been in 50 years. It's not true. You can find it on the internet under government statistics. It's not made up. These are statistics that have been run year after year, decade after decade, and our crime rate continues to drop. It's probably because people are getting older. Baby boomers are in a huge group that has always been pushed through our system in these gigantic numbers, and they're not committing crimes. They're 60 and 70 and 80 years old, and what they're doing is just trying to survive, collecting their Social Security, retiring in many cases, just trying to live a better life and hoping that their families will find a way to achieve in this country the way many of these baby boomers did themselves. That's where we need to be headed. Not crying, not worrying about somebody coming over here that's going to kill us. Listen, there are people here who will kill you. Many of them are Americans, born in the United States. Why they want to do it, I can't tell you. How they do it, with guns often. We could get rid of those guns. We won't. Certainly not now. I believe that someday we'll reach a point where somebody says, you know, we've hit the limit. But we haven't hit the limit yet. Apparently the right people haven't died. If the right people did die, you'd hear somebody say that we reached the limit. But right now, no, we're not there. But there's no question there's a lot of killing going on, and it needs to be less. And the guns are a big problem. Not migrants, guns. Guns that are held by people who are born in the United States, shot by people who have lived in the United States as American citizens all their lives. Some of them are just angry. Some of them are psychologically disturbed, like the president. I mean, there's a lot of trouble out here, and there's a lot of good that could be done, a lot of help that could be provided to people who are struggling in life. We don't need to do this. The way we're doing it is extraordinarily dangerous and extraordinarily counterproductive. And, you know, today, yes, the Senate passed the bill. The House has already passed it. So the bill's now going to go back to the House. And by tomorrow, the House, according to Speaker Johnson, is going to pass this thing and put it on the president's desk by Friday. That's their goal. Amazing what we're going through in order to get things passed that anybody knows, things that are no good, but that are being agreed to anyway. And here's the best example. Let's start with Lisa Murkowski, who's really a very good person. She's come out against Donald Trump on many occasions, senator from Alaska. She was attacked by Trump politically because she wouldn't go along with what he wanted, and she beat him. She ran a write-in election in Alaska, and she won in the United States Senate. They tried to stop her in the Republican Party, but it wouldn't work. The people in Alaska liked her, and they reelected her. So that's one part of this. The other part, though, is that Lisa Murkowski, as we have found out today, has her limits in what she's willing to do when it comes to courage. Because she opposed this bill. She said it would harm people around the United States, and she said it would harm people in Alaska. And the way they got her vote was pretty simple, and this is done all the time. They went to her because she was the last vote that they thought they could get and that they needed. They had to have her vote or they couldn't pass the bill. And she was offered everything imaginable for the state of Alaska. Things that would presumably help Alaskans to avoid the cuts in Medicaid that are out here in front of our faces and threatening our cities day by day, along with all the cuts to medical payments, to medical research at the universities, grants, everything that's out there that we've always used to make our system the most powerful health system in the world is being cut apart. And Medicaid now is a part of it. They're going to lose 15 million people in the Medicare system. That's 15 million people who have Medicaid insurance today. They're helped by our government today. They're making very little money. Some of them are making no money. They're desperate. Their families are struggling. They're maybe also on the SNAP program where they're being given food for their children. Well, what's happening? Medicaid is being slashed in these cases. And the thing about it is, hospitals are going to close. And you don't even have to look anywhere but where we are to see what's happening. Because we've already had a hospital that closed in Des Peres just a week or two ago. And this is all as a result of the Donald Trump slash and burn approach on health care. It's going to get 1,000 times worse. The shutdown of the hospital in De Pere is the beginning of what we're seeing in the United States. It is out of control. It is affecting us in ways because people have already made assumptions about what's going to happen and have begun cutbacks as a result. And it is true that the economic numbers so far have managed to hold together not too bad. There's no question that the growth in our labor force has diminished, but it's still growing. But there are pressures coming. They're coming from tariffs. They're coming from policies that are involved in this bill that they have just passed in the Senate, and which, again, I hope people are going to watch tonight to see what happens, and I hope that they watch over the next couple of days. And hopefully, I mean, Lisa Murkowski said herself that if some people will stand up, some other Republicans, that maybe that the bill could be stopped. But she could have stopped it herself, but she didn't do it because they offered her so much. They offered her so much for Alaska, she just decided, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take what they're giving me for my constituents, and if somebody else can't stop this, well, at least my people are going to get some protection. That's what she chose to do. She explained it today. She didn't hide from it. She told everybody that she got all of this. And she told them that she, as a result, voted for the bill. She said the bill is bad. She said in 49 other states, people are going to suffer dramatically. And she said she hopes that somebody will step up and stop this now. But it wasn't her, because she took the bribe and moved on. And I guess the people in Alaska may be applauding her for this. I don't know. Probably so, because they're going to get things that nobody else in the United States can get. Because Murkowski was the last vote, they needed it, and so they gave up whatever they had to give in order to get that vote. And what they gave up was the protection that everybody else needs, but which they won't get, but which Senator Murkowski's people will get, because she made the final deal. We'll talk about more of this as we get through the break here, but let me talk a little about our good people that do so much to help us stay on the air here on Showdown. And I'll start with the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. And I can tell you that I was out there today, and it was filled with people. I mean, there were people everywhere shopping at the St. Louis Suit Company, and it was hot out. Very hot. I mean, it's summertime in St. Louis, and this has been one of the hottest summers that people can remember, and everybody's talking about it, and everybody's hiding from the heat, but not at the St. Louis Suit Company. On the corner of Central and Forsyth in Clayton, people were upstairs getting all kinds of bargains, and I mean to tell you, it's the truth. The St. Louis Suit Company has been there for 30 years in Clayton, extraordinarily successful. Jay is the dad, Nick is the son, the rest of the family working there as well, and they make this a great shopping experience for men in Clayton. And listen, if you're getting married, this is the place to go to get your men's clothing for the wedding. All the wedding attire is available at the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. They've been there 30 years, very successful for 30 years, and we love them, and I'm just happy to say they love us, and that's been a good, positive relationship that we've had, and we look forward to a lot more of it. We really love the people at the St. Louis Suit Company. You will too. And remember, their ties are $5. And you could say, well, I don't even wear ties anymore. But you know what? Those ties are silk ties, beautiful ties, great gifts for people who do still wear ties. So check them out, St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. You'll love them. And then you can go down the road just a little bit to the east, and that's over on Hampton. You'll find at 4506 Hampton that my good friend Al and his son AJ and the whole group at Jewels on Hampton, and they've got a great jewelry store, and you'll find cases that are filled with jewelry. And there's everything from the designs that have been created by Jewels on Hampton all the way to just the gems that you can buy in order to create your own jewelry. And you may have ideas of your own. Al is definitely capable of helping you to put your ideas together for your own jewelry. The prices are terrific. Al is a very super guy that everybody loves when they meet him, and I'm sure you will. If you go to 4506 Hampton and really spend some time, you'll have a nice time there. They buy and sell jewelry. They buy and sell coins and gold, all very fair. You just got to go there. You'll see. You'll get the feeling right away when you meet Al. You'll understand what we're talking about. 4506 Hampton, that is Jewels on Hampton. Now, if you cut back to the west, you can go all the way down Highway 40 and end up right at 141 and go to 141 and Olive, and you'll find one of the greatest Italian restaurants that I've ever been to in my life, and that's Telena's in Creve Coeur. And Telena's has great Italian food. I can say that you know, all the pasta that you could ever find or think about is there. I mean, if you've thought about it, if you've eaten it somewhere else, it's there. Now, everything I've ever had there is always extraordinary. And what I really stick with is the spaghetti and meatballs. It's just my favorite. And I have to tell you, it is better than just good. It is phenomenal. Their spaghetti and meatballs, well, you just can't get it anywhere else. And really, they have so many different ways that they create it. I mean, you can ask for it with cheese on it. You can ask for it all different. But any way you cut it, it's spaghetti and meatballs, and it's the best. And it is at Telena's at 141 and Olive. Been there for 40 years. Not 30, not like those young whippersnappers at the St. Louis Suit Company. These people have now been there 40 years. So you can imagine how good their product is and really what a great job they do in serving the public. And they truly do. It is Telena's in Creve Coeur, and you'll love it. Finally, just a little bit further west, you can find yourself at Wente's. W-E-N-T-E. Wente's is just a great place for all different kinds of food. They've got chicken wings, which everybody says are the best. And I'm sure they may be. I've never had them. I don't like chicken wings. It's just not my thing. Many people think it's the best, and they love it. But for me, it's the baby back ribs, and they are delicious. Very, very good ribs. And I love their onion rings with the ribs. And I didn't even realize I started getting it when I went the other day. I was also, they've got coleslaw that you can have with it. The coleslaw was so good. I mean, this is just a great restaurant too. We love what Ben and his wife have created out in Chesterfield called Wente's. They're at 18,000 Chesterfield Airport Road. The food is great. They've got hamburgers and cheeseburgers and patty melts and salads and pizza and everything else you can imagine. It's a great restaurant. They've got my favorite. That's the ribs. They've got everybody else's favorites. That's the wings. But any way you cut it, it's great food, good people. That's Wente's in Chesterfield Valley. Okay, so I'm going to go back and talk a little more about the bill. Obviously, Lisa Murkowski cut a deal. It's not illegal. People do it all the time. They're picked off by powerful people who want those bills passed, and they're offered things that they can't refuse. And if you offer people enough, then eventually it'll get to the price that they really want. And in the case of Lisa Murkowski, it wasn't a personal benefit directly. Of course, politically it certainly benefits her, but it benefits her people, her constituents, people who live in Alaska. They're going to get all kinds of support for, first of all, health care, which is going to be devastating to people all over the country, but not if you live in Alaska. And then also things that directly benefit people who live in the very tough kinds of country that you're going to find in Alaska, and things that are going to help people in terms of work opportunities and energy production and all the different things that Lisa Murkowski needs, and that Donald Trump was able to provide her because he wanted this bill passed. She was the last barrier. He had to get past her, and he did. He gave her what she needed. And so it's going to be great for her. Her people in Alaska, as she has said, 49 other states are going to suffer under this bill, but not hers. She said it outright today. She told everybody about it, and she said, I hope they stop this bill. But I'm going to vote for it because I'm going to get what I can for my people, and she did. So that's what's happening today in Alaska. So what's happening in Missouri, where we live? Well, you can take a look at the Post-Dispatch today, and you might get an idea of how this is going to affect us. Headlines in the Post today say that Governor Kehoe is cutting everything in the state with an axe, that he is going berserk, cutting spending for everything. And if you read into the article, it's clear what he's saying. It's exactly what everybody should know. And if you understand what's being passed in Washington right now, you'll understand why Governor Kehoe is doing this. He is saying that for as far as he can see in the future, our revenues are going to be sharply lower because of a decline in federal funds in all different areas. As a result, Governor Kehoe is cutting back in order to create a balanced budget in Missouri, which of course is required by law anyway. But listen to where the cuts are coming. First of all, of course, in Medicaid, you know that's coming. Secondly, if you're thinking about the possibilities of riding down the road and not running over bad pieces of road where your tires are going to be slammed and destroyed, guess what? All those road funds, they're cutting those back. No highway construction. They're cutting back on sewer construction, things where people know that we've got sewers that are falling apart after decades and they need to be restored, replaced, and instead of providing the funding for it, we're cutting those funds. Now, you know that causes all kinds of problems in various neighborhoods, but it also is a health hazard. I mean, everything is related. And here's the deal. When we think about funding for projects that people need, I mean, this isn't just like I would like to have a better road. I mean, I know I live out in Chesterfield. I drive over a piece of the highway or a piece of the road to get onto the highway out by Chesterfield Village. And I can tell you right now, that place has been disastrous for at least 2 or 3 years. It would be nothing to come in and fix that area up and make it so that you don't go slamming your tires over that road. And of course, there's a way to do it. I mean, you ride around it, and it's a little dangerous to do that because you got other cars out there, and everybody's trying to get on the highway to go to work in the morning, and you got a big giant hole in the road. You can multiply that all over the state. I guarantee you, there are places all over where people slash their tires. I've heard of it in St. Louis on the highways. I've done it myself, unfortunately. I can tell you right now, we need highway rebuilding, restoring. I mean, it's just a fact. It just happens. And that money was there. It's not going to be there, apparently. It's not going to be there for the state. It's not going to be there from the state to us. And that's why Mike Kehoe is cutting spending in Missouri. He doesn't think he's going to have the money, and he's going to cut the funds. Now, where else? Higher education funding to be cut. I mean, that has to do with certainly our state colleges and universities, has to do with our community colleges as well. Everything above secondary education is on the cutting block as we move forward here. If they're going to hold the money back, if the state isn't going to have it, there's somewhere we're going to have to cut. Should it be higher education? I'd argue no. But there are a lot of people in this state and around the country who have been convinced that there's no value to going to universities. There's no value to college. College is not necessary. You can get a trade and go out and make money and do just as well, and everything will be fine. We've had the discussion here so many times. Many people have come up and explained how college life is so important in terms of how it affects your life. It affects the way you are. It makes you into a different kind of person. Whether you make more money or less money, you're a different person with a college education. You know about things that you need to understand to take care of yourself, to take care of your families, your children, everybody, to be a better citizen. You just need to know things. And there's no question, in 2025, there's a belief that knowing things about the world, it's just not important. You can watch a reality show, and you're considered to be okay. Especially, I guess, if you've watched The Apprentice. But honestly, it's all very foolishness because it's hurting us dramatically. We talked the other day about how we fund people going to college. We talked about student loans, and people talk about how overwhelming the pressure is from student loans, and there's no question. There's a pressure. It's complicated. It's hard. If you have to repay loans, that's a tough way to go. We were in the process of setting up ways for repaying loans that would make it possible for people to do it successfully. Then we elected Donald Trump, and he changed it all. And he said, oh no, you're going to pay that money, and you're going to pay it big time, and you're going to pay it out of your current earnings with large amounts per month that maybe you can't even afford, and you know what? It doesn't matter because you're going to pay it anyway. I mean, that's really where we are. And, you might say, well, they chose to get that money. Yeah, but they were also told that it was going to be something that they could live with, they could repay over enough time that they would be able to survive, do better. It would help them on one end, that they got their education. It would help them on the other end, that their futures would be more impressive in the workplace. People who go to college make, they say, $1 million more in a lifetime than everybody else. Some people say, oh no, you can make all that money if you have your own business, if you have a trade. You know, that I'm not saying that some people don't, but I am telling you this, that overall they don't. The large numbers of people who go to college versus those who don't absolutely fare worse by not going to a university. And as I've said, just quality of life, just who you are. It's different. And it's not as good as for those people who have gone to a university and experienced a different kind of learning and an expansion of their way they think and a way to think about the world that is extremely valuable for everybody, for their families, for their friends, for their society, for all of us. But we don't think about that as a country. And right now I can tell you that if you do a poll, you'll find a vast majority of people in the United States will tell you they don't think that going to college is really necessary. They don't think that you have to do it. They don't think you necessarily should do it. They think you might consider it, but they don't realize what they're passing up. And again, the best way I can point out to anybody is just think about where we were in the United States at the end of World War II. We had millions of people, young soldiers, who had fought in that war, came back to the country, and after serving the country, they were given what we call the GI Bill, which paid for everything for them to go to school. For the rest of their lives, they got advanced degrees, they got everything. And you know what? For the 20 years that followed the period where we sent all of these people to school, our country went through the most incredible expansion in our history. It was the most positive industrial expansion, technological expansion. We went to outer space. And, you know, going to outer space, people can say, well, that's nice, but what does it mean? It means the production of technology, the creation of new ways of interacting with each other, of developing tools in order to do things not only in outer space, but also within the United States. Things that we've done in order to explore our oceans in ways that have helped us to grow as a country and to grow the health of the world. All of this, first of all, it's produced enormous profits. Secondly, it's produced enormous health benefits for everybody in our country. It's helped to create our university system in a way that has attracted people from all over the world. It has just been phenomenal for us. So when we look at all of this today and we say, well, Harvard, that's just for elite people. But no, that's not true. Actually, Harvard and Washington University, right here in St. Louis, I mean, they have programs that if you don't have enough money to go to their schools, but you qualify to go intellectually, they'll let you in for free. And I can only say that if you look at that and say, well, then go ahead and get it. We're not stopping you. That's not the point. The point is we've devalued the idea of going to a university, of the idea of the work that you do in college. And we've really encouraged young people to believe that they don't need to read, they don't need to know things. They just need to listen to the dear leader. I mean, that may work in places like North Korea, but it's just not what we've done here. It's not what we've done here to become the most powerful economic engine in the history of the world. And we are that. We've been that. We produce $30 trillion a year in total output because of the enormous amount of services that we produce. I know we were on the air on KATZ with the Freeman Bosley show, and we had a long discussion about what happens if we have more industrial manufacturing in the United States. And here's the answer. We can't do it. It's just not what we're good at. We require enormous amounts of money for the labor to produce the things that come from all of these manufacturing outlets. They do it in China. They do it with people who make very, very low amounts of money. They do it in Vietnam the same way. And we buy all those things from those countries because they produce them there at a cost that is very profitable for us when we go to the store to buy. What do we produce? We produce services. We produce medical services. We produce legal services. We produce financial services. You know, when you think about the financial services that come out of the United States and that benefit us not only from the service that we give to people around the world, but also from, for example, the strength and the safety in our dollar. I do have to warn you that our dollar has been declining since the day Donald Trump entered the White House. The value of the dollar has dropped 10%, and that is not small, and it is continuing to go down, and it is not good for any of us. And I promise you that for those out there who look at the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 and say these indexes have recovered all the way back to the levels at which they were, and slightly higher even, before Donald Trump created the big sell-off with tariffs, and thinking that we've dodged a bullet, I promise you that's not true. You go look at the Russell 2000. It's an important index, and it's an index that shows where overall our economy is, overall where stock prices are, of the vast majority of companies, not the ones that have the biggest capitalization, the ones that are smaller, that are part of the heart of the American economy. And I can promise you, it is halfway back, if that. It is struggling to get back towards those higher levels. And in the past, when we've seen markets like this, the result has always been the same. The recoveries that have led people to believe that all is clear have been followed by even deeper declines to new lows, to devastating new lows, creating all kinds of problems across the United States. We've gone through this before. It's not something that we can't survive. Yes, we can, but you won't want to. I promise you, you won't. You won't be happy, and Donald Trump will go down the tubes with it where he belongs. He'll end up on that trash heap of history where I've always said he would go. But I'll tell you this, you don't want to pay the price. And Donald Trump is going to take us there. That's for sure. So I just remind you, we're heading into another holiday, an important one for sure, the 4th of July. Enjoy it, celebrate, but also think about what we're doing in this country and what direction we want to go. And if we want to let Donald Trump destroy the United States the way he has destroyed every business that he has ever touched, he'll do it if you allow it. For now, I'm Mark Kasen. This is Showdown. Good night.